CSS Z Index. Now that we learned about X and Y axis in CSS, it's time to learn about the Z axis. Meaning horizontal and vertical has been understood. Let's also learn how to manipulate up and down, giving us the ability to put elements one above or below the other. If you take a look at this document which I've created, I've used an H1 heading and placed some text which says Z index just for the title of this document. Then I've created an H3 type element which is having a class title set to it and some text inside it. And finally, an image has been placed which has this image of ducks. And as you can see, these three have been rendered one after the other in the natural order, have the way they have been declared in the HTML document. Now, the first thing I've done is I've also set the position relative for the image, which allows us to keep it fixed to a certain point. Similarly, I have set the title to have some background color and the text white and given it some padding and font size to make it much more appealing and visual. So let's say if I happen to change the position of the heading and make it absolute, when I make it absolute, what happens is the background space is not taken anymore and it is moved around. And because this was rendered before the image is rendered on top of it. It is basically laid one above the other. Now, there is a way to manipulate it. So, for example, I can set a Z index property to it. When I set a Z index property to this title, it comes one layer above the image, which puts it on the higher plane and makes it more visible. Even though it was rendered before the image, it is now visible after the image or above the image. As you can see, I set a very high Z index property, which is not needed. You can simply set it to Z index 2, assuming that image is at Z index 1. If I set it to Z index 1, definitely I see that it is still above, meaning my image is at Z index 0. Now, there are ways to analyze how your content is floated in three dimension. So when you go to your dev tools using inspect, there is also a bottom panel that is 3D view panel. And if it is not visible, you can click on these three dots and choose the option to make it visible, which clearly is not available in my case because I have already enabled it. So if I click on 3D, I'll have to first drag this up a little. And you can see a lot of stuff is available right here. You can also create a 3D map of the website. It is visible now. Let's move the website over here. And you see this is a 3D representation of our web page. Now I'm going to drag this to a much larger screen size so we can take better look at it and you can drag it around. And as you can see, these things are visible one above the other. Going back to this code, you can see that I've set a Z index of 1000 and this can be reduced to 1, which would make a difference. Also, that this property can be used inverted. So let's say I don't have this Z index set over here as 1, and instead I can change the Z index of the image to a negative Z index. If I set it to -1, it automatically moves behind. This is how you can play with Z index.